don't have to be the experts. Um, that's what you have me for. And I'm partnering with our advisors to, help them sell these plans and make some money. That's really the bottom line, to help you put some money in your pocket with the expertise that I have and that Regis has. Um, so what we've been focusing on is the business market and these. Well, we started with just straight non-qualified deferred comp. So I'll talk a little bit about that, where it works, where it doesn't, and then now these multi-life plans that are a little bit different, but again, something that a business owner can offer to their key people. Because at the end of the day, business owners are trying to find ways to keep people, and in some instances, trying to help them save more for retirement. And that's where these plans work best. So when we're talking about non-qualified deferred comp, this is a company sponsored plan, similar to a 401k plan, where the business owners offer it to their key employees. So you have to be making $125,000 or more in total comp. And you can't, a plan can't have more than 10 to 15% of the total population in a plan. So let's say we have a 100-person company, just using round math because I'm not good at math. You have a 100-person company, no more than 10 to 15 people can be in it. It's a rule that the DOL puts on these plans. So a true non-qualified deferred comp plan is when a business owner wants to keep and retain those key people and also help them retire, where somebody making a few $100,000 is maxing out their 401k plan, but needs another pre-tax venue or plan to save for retirement. So let's say I'm making $500,000 a year. My company is offering this non-qualified deferred comp plan. I know my life works just fine at 100,000. I could potentially defer $400,000 into a plan pre-tax, take my current W-2 from one of the highest tax brackets down to the lowest, because I've gone from showing 500K on my W-2 down to 100, and I'm building another bucket for my retirement. With 401ks, you're putting away what, 32,000, I think, is the limit now. And if you're making $500,000, 32K a year isn't enough to retire on. So somebody making that kind of money needs another pre-tax type of plan to save on. So we see key people using non-qual plans to save for retirement. On the flip side, the owner wants to keep those key people. They can't afford to lose that key person. So the employer contributes company dollars into this plan, and it vests. And when you separate from service or retire, you get that additional benefit for retirement. So it's a great type of plan to save pre-tax dollars and fill that retirement gap that you have from your 401k plan, your social security, and now this other plan to help fill that gap for what you need to retire comfortably on. So that's one particular concept, non-qualified deferred comp. It's restrictive in terms of who can be in the plan, meaning you got to be making 125 and above and no more than 10 to 15% of total population. It's flexible because you can put employer dollars as well as employee deferrals into the plan. Now, employers are still looking for things to retain key people, but maybe they don't have a lot of employees. Maybe they only have one person making over $100,000, but they need a way to keep those people. Now we have another concept similar to non-qual. It's called an incentive bonus plan. So this is where an employer is going to use it like a golden handcuff. It's a little bit more flexible when it comes to who can be in the plan, meaning anybody can be in the plan. So if you have a 20-person company and nobody's making 125,000, you can still offer it to all of those people, regardless of the number of employees you have and the salary that they make. It's more restrictive because it can only be company dollars. So this is a true retaining, retention type golden handcuff plan. I, as the business owner, am going to put money in a plan for my people, and it's going to vest and pay. So I give you, Alonzo, $10,000 each year for the next 5 years. When those contributions vest, they come out as a lump sum to the participant. It doesn't stay in until
Is that tax free?
It's pre-tax, and it comes out as ordinary income when it's distributed.
Okay, so it's taxable to the employee.
Yes.
Is there a tax benefit for the employer?
Great question. So typically the employer would get a tax deduction when they gave you that $10,000. What the owner has to do is defer that deduction. So I put $10,000 into the plan for you. I, as the business owner, now delayed that deduction I would typically get on that 10. In 5 years from now, when that contribution vests and pays out to you, let's say the 10,000 has grown to 20,000. As the business owner, I now get the deduction on the 20. So I'm basically doubling the deduction because of the way the account grew. I'm doubling what I would have gotten if I had just paid that out to you in a bonus or some type of cash.
Okay, and that goes on year after year until separation?
It can. It can. So these plans are as discriminatory and as discretionary as you want them to be. So I can pick and choose who's in the plan. I can pick and choose who's getting what. It doesn't have to be uniform like a 401k
So you
plan.
can discriminate.
Absolutely. That's what these plans are built to do. So you're coming in and you're killing it every day. You get a contribution into your plan of $50,000 the first year. I'm coming in every day. I'm putting my feet up and I'm trying to get to the end of the internet every morning. I get $50, or I get nothing. It's completely up to the business owner to determine who gets what and when. Company could be having a great year. As a business owner, I want to spread that out along to my employees. I give everybody a little bit something extra. Company's having a bad year. I don't have that extra income to pass around to the key people. Nobody gets anything, that year. It can go
Okay,
up and down each year.
cool. Thank you.
You bet. So you're not locked into anything, which is the beauty of non-qual. It's exactly that. It's a non-qualified plan. Qualified plans have to be, equal to everybody. Everybody gets that same matching contribution. Everybody's offered the plan. Non-qualified plans are just that, non-qualified. So you don't have to have that same rigidity of having to give everybody something, and something that's equal to each participant. So think of non-qual as a 401k type plan.
I'm sorry, Brad, to interrupt. I don't
Please.
think I caught. Is there a participation percentage requirement? Is it like with healthcare where you got to have 75% participation and all that? Or
No. So with these non-qual plans, there are no participation rates. You just can't go over the limit that the DOL has of that 10 to 15%. But you could have a 100-person company and have two people in a plan. You could have one person in a plan. What I've seen, typically one-person plans don't work. They're a ton of work, and they end up falling apart after a couple of years. So can we do them? Absolutely. You might have one key person making $1 million and they want to defer their income. We can absolutely do it. And the other thing is, like a 401k, there are no RMDs, there's no 59 and a half. The money comes out when you either separate from service or with these incentive bonus plans when the money vests. So you don't have to worry about those other things that you would with a typical qualified plan.
Thank you.
Um, Administration is important with these type of plans. So there are administrators that work on it that have websites similar to if you logged into your own 401k, you would see your balance and your vested balance, and you could move the money around in the accounts. So it's very user friendly, and the participants, get to see, pretty much what's, exactly going on with each of their accounts. So depending on the administrator that is being used, you get a pretty good user experience for each participant, as well as the business owners. So those are the two true type of non-qualified deferred comp plans that we're using in the marketplace. Right now, the incentive bonus style plan, where employers are trying to put a golden handcuff on their participants, those are really what's most popular, just because it's so hard to keep people, and it's so easy for participants to go from one company to the next. Everybody knows everybody on LinkedIn. So if there's a company across the street that you have a second connection or first connection to, it's easier to move from place to place. So business owners are really feeling the pinch, and that's why these type of executive bonus plans are so important. Happy employees stay, and that's very important to business owners. So the other concept that we're starting to work on and starting to see a lot of traction on are these multi-life plans. So a little bit different than the true non-qualified deferred comp plan, the 401k type of plan. We see multi-life. And in particular, we're looking at John Hancock, who just came out with a brand new product about 2 weeks ago. And it's a bit different. It's an IUL product with a long-term care rider. It's for executives making $100,000 and above, but this one is actually participant owned. So it's a complete voluntary plan. It's individually owned and individually paid. It's just corporate sponsored. So the company has to say, you know what, I want to offer something else to my key people, but I don't want to pay for it. I want them to pay for it. I want to give them the access to this new type of product out there, but they're going to have to pay for it. And that's where we're seeing this multi-life premier benefit IUL coming out for John Hancock. Everything is done online. Enrollment into the plan is done all online, and all the underwriting is done online. It's not a guaranteed issue, but it's not a full underwriting process. It's kind of something in between. They call it a streamlined underwriting. So when you enroll into the plan, you go through the underwriting process. At most, it's I think 48 to 72 hour process. You're asked a bunch of questions, no medical exam, no doctor's records are needed. They're going to ask a lot of in-depth questions, but you don't have to, have an examiner show up at your house and draw your blood, have you pee in a cup.
Quick question.
Sure.
Because it's this is something that's directed toward business owners. Is there a sweet spot in terms of size of? So, for example, I work with a lot of self-employed individuals, real estate, things like that, right? But obviously, they're shell companies, so they have different names, et cetera, et cetera. The LLC paying me. In those events, is this something that I could have them set up?
Maybe. So there is a 10 participant limit that you need to hit. So you have to have 10 people to get an offer. and then they have a 50% participation rate. So out of those 10 people that you're getting the offer for, you have to have at least 5 enroll in the plan, which from what I'm seeing in my, experience in this space is that's going to be a bit of a challenge for employers all over. Because it's completely voluntary, there's no, carrot at the end of the stick, so to speak, like we do on a true non-qual plan where a business can put, business money into the plan. That isn't here. So it's 100% voluntary plan. So I think the 50% participation rate is going to be a bit of a challenge for some
Is it pre-tax dollars for the client? If I enroll as an employee, what I pay in is after taxes, not before taxes, to lower my. Okay, so then that is going to be a challenge.
Yeah, it's a cool product. It's a great idea because you have a life insurance policy with a long-term care benefit. You have this online enrollment. You have this online underwriting. You're not, doing some of the challenging things when it comes to the underwriting, like the APSs and the exams. But because it's all voluntary, it is post-tax money. It's, can I get a better deal if I just go to you, Alonzo, take my business out of it and buy this similar type product, an IUL with a long-term care benefit? So there are some challenges, I think, with it. And again, it's brand new. And knowing how John Hancock works, as they deal with the challenges, they'll probably start thinking about how the product works and how they may be able to tweak it to make it a little bit more user-friendly. But right now, that's what we're looking at. But we'll see. The jury's still out because it's so new.
But can you go back to the underwriting?
Sure.
I know you said they don't have any labs, right? But up to what amount?
Up to $5 million.
So it's up to $5 million. Oh wow!
And Hancock starts at a minimum of $750K, correct?
In terms of death benefit?
Minimum face applied for.
I think this product is actually a minimum of $50,000 to $100,000. Let me just double check on that.
And then is it in New York?
It is not in New York. That's the only that's
oh gosh.
Bringing that up. Yeah, that's New York.
They
is
just
so
be killing
hard.
us. Everything is not New York. Oh gosh, we was having a good convo.
Everybody hates New York.
Outside of New York, so
it's outside of New York.
Well, I'm still interested because I'm outside of New York.
Our constituents are not able to get these great plans. But however, there's workarounds that. So, if they have if they can get an address in South Carolina, they have a hunting shack in Virginia, there's kind of ways that you just have to use there's ways we can get ways around that. Yeah, but back to the underwriting, it's just a few health questions they answer, or they just have to they do a script check, or what do they do?
They do a prescription check. So what you're not doing is they're going to do a prescription check, an MVR as well, an MVR, and they're going to ask, some more detailed questions than you would if it was just a straight guaranteed issue like cancer, diabetes, neurological conditions, stuff like that.
They're not pulling medical records,
but they're not pulling
it's easier to issue.
Yeah.
And it just you said it has to be 10 people has to be offered, and then 50% of the 10 have to. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, and the New York thing, it's so hard. Like the first two concepts that we were talking about, the non-qual stuff, that is we can get product in New York for that. This, it's just New York is such a challenge. And I was talking to a friend on the product team at John Hancock about this because, I'm like, I work with a lot of New York advisors. You're killing me. And, he's like, I'm all for protecting the customers and, making sure the consumers are taken care of. But New York has taken it a couple steps too far with some of the products that they're just not allowing. And even like a guaranteed issue on a COLI type case, you don't have a master application where every other state does. In New York, you have to do individual applications. So if you do a non-qual plan that has 50 participants, you're taking 50 applications.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you could do it, with DocuSign and stuff like that to make it a little easier. That's a lot of paperwork, though. So I'm hoping something happens with New York and they ease up, because it's killing everybody. It's killing the advisors, it's killing folks like me, and it's hurting the carriers as well.
That's actually a question I was about to ask. I mean,
Sure.
you mentioned COLI and master applications.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, myself, I haven't. I'm knowledgeable of COLI, but I've never actually. How many people have written many COLI policies? Obviously, you have, but so because that was my concern, because currently actually I have a political event that I intend on attending in a few days, and it's at a location where I'm trying to actually get with the business owner. It's a small steakhouse here by Yale, so
Okay.
I'm kind of hoping to rub a couple elbows. The guys running for mayor.
So, COLI is a great product. It really is. Most of the COLI products depend, whichever carrier you're working with, they all are pretty similar. Some have different bells and whistles, but they're all structured the same, where it's a variable product, and the early cash values are pretty high. And they're built this way to attract business owners. So only a business can buy a true COLI product, and no business is going to buy an insurance policy and put $100,000 in and have $20,000 of cash value at the end of year one. They're just not going to do it because they don't want that write down on their books. So carriers build these COLI products where they will artificially deflate charges in the early years, and they'll put an enhanced cash value rider on it, which is going to boost your cash values up and above 100%. So you put $100,000 into the policy at the end of year one. Now, assuming the market doesn't do a negative, 50, you're going to have 101, 102% of cash value at the end of year one. So businesses are going to be more attracted to buy that stuff. So, it's a great product out there for businesses to use in these type of plans.
And so, for example, if we had an advanced market case like that, even a smaller one, we can just bring that to you, and then
Absolutely.
Would you? Okay.
Yeah. So what we're doing with Regis, what I'm doing is, like Charles said at the beginning, we don't want you to be the expert. You have a lot of other stuff going on. I've done this for a while. I've sat at the table with participants to give them, to educate them on the plan and the benefits for them. I've sat at the table with business owners, CEOs, CFOs, the folks making the decisions to put these plans in place. And that's what I want to do with you guys. So if you have a person, a business owner that you're not sure, maybe it fits, maybe it doesn't, give me a call. Give me a call and we'll talk through it. And then, if it is something, then let's get on a call with the decision makers at the company and let's talk to them about it. And, let me answer the questions and, help put the plan in place.
Gotcha.
I worked at Principal Financial Group for almost 8 years, just doing non-qualified deferred comp. And the way Principal does it is they offer product as well as administration. So I'm fortunate. I can speak both languages when it comes to these type of plans. I can speak the plan language, meaning I'm going to talk with the business owner or the CEO, CFO, whomever is the decision maker about how the plan works. What do we want to do with vesting? What do we want to do with distributions and stuff like that? But then on the flip side, I can also speak product. So I've dealt with COLI products for 20 some odd years. So I can talk that language with the decision makers as well. and help put the plan in place, whether it's a fully bundled approach or if we're going to a carrier and an administrator. I can talk both languages and put it all together to help out.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, my favorite call is when an advisor calls me and says, I got a guy or I got a gal. Then let's talk about it. And if it fits, we'll have a second and third and fourth, hopefully, conversation. And if it doesn't, then we just try to find the next one.
Okay, well, then let me see how I would approach this. So I have a potential client, steakhouse, has a nice rent roll. I know his obligations from the restaurant are itself are about 140,000 a month. The difficulty is the type of employees, back of the house. And this guy is, I believe he's from Ecuador or someplace with coffee. And he also has a coffee business that's an export that does about 5 million a year. So he currently has about 5 million in life from New York Life, but that's all he has. It's term and it's not even being paid for by the business. But he wants to get them health insurance, and that was like his major focus. We've kind of lost touch, but since I'm going to go to a political event at his restaurant, a sign is a sign, right?
Yep.
So, uh, like I said earlier, this conversation is perfect timing. So I do still have his contact information. What's the best way for us to approach him?
Great question. I would probably ask him how it's going with the health benefits and if they are still looking at that. And then the next question is how are you keeping the people that you need to keep? Are you losing back of the house people left and right, and struggling to keep them there to keep the ship running, so to speak? Because let's face it, at a restaurant, the people behind the scenes are the ones that keep the doors open. So I think the simple question is are you feeling the pinch of these folks maybe leaving for a couple bucks at a restaurant down the street? And are you looking for a way to keep those people? And that opens up the discussion of well, do you have extra money that you can put into a plan for these people to keep them around for say 5 years? And does that make sense for the business owner? I don't know that much about the restaurant business, so is it sort of plug and play for those folks, or if they lose somebody, like I'm sure a chef, if they were to lose a chef, that would hurt. So would it make sense to maybe put $5,000 a year or whatever the number is into a plan and vest that over 5 years or 7 years, so that if that chef was to leave before then, chef gets nothing and that money is on my balance sheet, so it's still mine as the business owner? Does that work in this industry? And I don't know the answer to that question. That would be what an answer for the business owner.
Right.
Is it a plug and play type of thing, or does it really hurt if they lose one of those people? And then if it does, then let's talk to him and see what he would think about some type of plan like this. I had a call with it's similar but a little bit different. I had a call about 2 months ago with a dog trainer where this owner was having issues because he would train up these trainers, and it was a fairly large company. And after like a year or two where they're just really understanding how he does things, they're leaving to go somewhere else and taking the knowledge that he's given those trainers over the course of the year or two, and either trying to start their own business or going to another company. And it's really hurting this owner. So we're in discussions with them to put an incentive bonus plan in place to keep the dog trainers. Is that similar to the behind the scenes staff at a restaurant? It may very well be, and an incentive bonus plan could be a great, somewhat inexpensive way for the owner to key talented people working for them.
Cool, thank you.
So how do you determine, we have new people on the call. So how do you determine, how much premium should go into the plan? And for the new people to understand, how do you determine how much premium, what do you base that on? And secondly, you mentioned the vesting schedule, right? So I'm figuring the vesting schedule, you're talking about the cash accumulation and dividend accumulation inside the plan. So after a certain amount of, can you just go through that again?
Sure.
We have new people so they can understand
Sure.
how you're structuring that.
So the premium really is decided by what the company wants to do or what the deferrals are that are coming into the plan. So when it comes to the company contribution, I want to keep these people, keep these key people here. So I'm going to put my own money in. It really is about, what's going to interest those participants. So if I'm making $500,000 and my owner gives me $5 into the plan, that I don't care about that. If I'm making $75,000 and my business owner is putting $6,000 in, then yeah, that's going to have some sizzle. So it really it's determined by really what those participants are making in terms of salary and what's going to be, what's going to make it worth their while. In terms of vesting can really be very flexible. So when it comes to the non-qual plans where I can put my own money in and the business owner can put their money in for them, vesting can really be all over the place. Typically, we don't see anything more than 10 years because after 10 years, it loses its sizzle. That goes the same with the incentive bonus. But a straight non-qual, anything more than 10 years really doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense because it doesn't seem real to the participant. What we see almost all of the employers doing is a rolling vesting. And it's a per deposit roll vesting. Meaning, I give you $10,000 today. In 5 years from today, that $5,000 is vested. I give you $5,000 a year from today. 5 years from then, the money is vested. So if you're making contributions every year to this plan and an employee leaves, chances are they're going to leave money on the table because it's a per deposit vesting schedule. And it's a great way for business owners to lengthen that 5 years without having it more than 5 years, if that makes sense. So in my mind, it's a 5-year vesting schedule. But it's actually each time the employer puts money into it, that vesting schedule starts. So it's a great way to do it. With the incentive bonus plans, where it's just the employer contributions, you cannot have more than a 10-year vesting schedule. But again, after 10 years, it really doesn't make that much sense anyway. But that's a rule with those incentive bonus plans.
So 10 pay policies were good for that.
Yeah. Yep.
Like 10 pay.
Yep.
Okay.
I've talked a lot. I've given you guys a lot of information. Do you have any questions? I don't want to take up all of your time on your team meeting, but I think it's been a great conversation.
No, you are the team meeting.
Oh, okay.
We're structuring it. We're structuring it. We call it
that's how we're doing now.
Tea and Muffin Tuesdays. We're trying to have more concepts like this. So anybody besides Alonzo have a question? We have new people on the call. This is anybody have any questions besides Alonzo?
Not all at once.
Yeah, not all at once. I was just watching Ferris Bueller, and he was like, Bueller, anyone, Bueller. So I guess we're good. If anybody doesn't have any questions, or Alonzo, you had something?
No, I was just gonna say thank you. You know,
You
that's
bet. Yeah, and Alonzo, after you have your your event there, if something comes up with out of it, give me a buzz and we'll talk about it and see what might work.
all right. So we can go to you or Stephanie, or
Come to me on this stuff because if you go
okay.
to Stephanie, she's just probably going to push you over to me.
Send it to you. Okay.
Um, but yeah, love to chat about whatever you guys are thinking about, even if it's
Well, I
kind of
guess
out of left
if
field.
that's the case, since you are the meeting and we have a little bit of time,
Sure.
so in terms of because now I'm looking at strategies to kind of go out there and utilize you since you have a lot of knowledge and you'd
Mm-hmm.
be able to help us a lot. So I focus on um sometimes S corps, but again they're individuals. So I know you were speaking about like Hancock that has a minimum requirement of 10 and then a participation requirement of 50%. That's why I was
Yep.
asking earlier,
Yep.
because those things, they kind of kill it. And then a lot of the business that I have, that our business owners are New York. So in terms of New York, um, outside of a COLI plan, is there something that we can kind of approach them with in terms of employee benefits? One of the things I do ask is, hey, how are you, attracting and retaining quality employees?
Yep. Yeah, there are options of things that we can do for smaller companies. There are particular concepts that we could use where they're geared directly towards the owner. Typically, they're post tax as opposed to pre tax.
That's
Um,
perfect, actually.
yeah. Okay.
So I
Yeah.
can give you an example. Right now, I have a client. Um, Actually, he did two policies. So in one policy, he's doing 50,000. The other, he's doing 20,000. But they're both being paid for through the S corp.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he still has a tax issue. Um, and so I think we're at 87,000 to the IRS. But I also have an IRA for him. And he only put 15K in there. We talked to an accountant. I think he's got this year at least another 50K to put in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is there a way we can, without triggering, Tefra Defra Tamra, dump some more money in the policy through another carrier through you?
Potentially. Um, I would want to double check on the products that I'm thinking of if they're available in New York. I'm not sure if they are, at least with one of the carriers. I want to double check on another one, but it's potentially an option. It's tough with S corps because of the way they're taxed with the pass through.
Mm-hmm.
So that's if post tax is an option, I think we have more available products.
And Brad, are
Okay.
any of these concepts? Can we structure any of these concepts for nonprofits, churches, etc.?
They're a little different. So when it comes to nonprofits, so for-profit companies are they have the regulations called 409A. When it comes to a nonprofit, they're they're under section 457 F
Mm-hmm.
or B. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have a ton of experience with them, but I do know that they're more restrictive when it comes to how much money can be put into them. I believe they follow along the same lines as what a 401k is limited to. But it hasn't been the market that I've been in, the nonprofits, but there are options. I'm just not super familiar with all of the rules.
So outside of the rules, Brad, with kind of like the multi-life strategy with a charitable remainder trust, um, where the life policies are paid for by the parishioners and then left to the behest of the church. Um, Now I'm wondering, is there like a what did you say, like a master application for something like that?
Um, For some things there are. There is no application for the multi-life stuff with John Hancock because it's all online. But that wasn't actually we didn't really discuss that in the few meetings that I've had. Let me follow up with them and ask them about that. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I think we're good for now. Unless anyone has any other questions, Brad, we really appreciate you taking your time
thanks
out
for having me
to shed some light on this topic. So at least we know now when we're in that situation, we know we have a partner we can reach out to, and like Brad said, we don't have to know the ins and outs, but if you have a lead or a client, like I have a cousin that's on the board of directors of he's an executive at Coca-Cola, so I know right away, and I know they're always looking for plans like this, and they will meet your criteria. So if you have somebody like that you can meet, that's when you call Brad, say hey, and then we would take the next step. So thank you everyone. All right, and have a very productive week, and Brad, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody. Appreciate your time.
All right.
Take care.